doing it today. We're doing it not late. It's going to be a good day. We're going to use QuadHands today. It's going to be a good time. I wanted to give you guys the little heads up that my guy Mark that owns this glorious company has hit me back. And he said, you have my attention. And now I have to do a good job at giving him a reason why he should care about what we got going on here. So I'm excited about that. I think I'm going to do as good a job as I can providing some value for my dude Mark, and hopefully for you guys. That's the whole point of all of this stuff. So what's up? What are you guys doing this morning? I feel like it's craziness happening. I had a very interesting night. I was telling some guys about some of the stuff I've been working on, and I know that it's very foreign sounding to them, what I do and how I share things. Mike, what's up, man? And so it's going to be a very interesting next couple of weeks, I feel like, because some big giant changes very well may happen. And I don't know. I think I'm really excited to see where things go, especially with the stream and with you guys all. And I got to tell you, some of the guys that are in the Facebook group, I am love watching everybody in there doing their thing. Slush HD in the house. By the way, as soon as the stream is over, Mr. Richard, I'm gonna go over everything. I wanted to ship off those headlights yesterday, but we got to stick the side markers in with them so that they're not rattling around against the taillights. So I'll get with you as soon as this is over, just so that you know, so you can enjoy the stream and not be like, bro, pink elephant, wind stuff coming. So we'll talk as soon as this is over. All right. Now today I'm going to use the QuadHands, and I'm going to be working on a bunch of stuff that I was doing the other day, and I was kind of failing miserably at it. And the reason was that I had way too many little wires that I was trying to keep track of. And it almost makes me wish now it'd be dope to have the actual six arm QuadHands, because I'd be able to individually wire up 6 things, and then I could take my ribbon wire here and I could individually go through, hit all of those guys one by one, and just keep it clean and simple. So I think that doing the sequential work with these guys, that's gonna be huge. So let's do the typical deal. I'm gonna let you guys help me browse around a bit. Here we are inside squad. Actually, let's see if there's anybody new inside squad today. Yesterday I connected with a few of my buddies on Facebook that I haven't talked to for a long time. 2 of which I was able to get a hold of, and the third one I found out he has turned to drugs and couch surfing, and that makes me sad. No, but I'm about to. I agree. Drew Abraham, welcome into the squad, sir. Very cool. All right, let's see what we got on Epidemic Sound. I don't know. What are you guys into today? What sounds good for the music selection? Should we go for more rock? Should we do some hip hop? All of these things. I like instrumentals too. It's kind of hard to find the perfect background music for this stuff, but let's see how it goes with this. John Paul's in the house. So John Paul, by the way, I uploaded your GLC file. I hit the Roxbury. I updated your GLC file for my dude Al. So Al, if you're watching, that Nissan GTR Lightning Bolt has been added to something on there. Green growth and gardening. Okay, I'm good with that. I like green stuff. Laid back people. It's all good. Look, I missed a call from Mike West. Okay, I will at some point pull up these files to work on the sequence designer, but today's going to be more about stuff here on the bench. So we're actually going to be doing a wee bit of soldering. Sorry, sometimes I have to adjust that little window. So let me know, what are you guys using your QuadHands for? Because I'm going to be working on this guy to finish it up right now so that we could start doing some of the I don't know, some of the programming that we definitely need to be doing so we can see these things going. So I had a talk with one of my guys who's getting these stage 3 taillights, and these are all, you know, like dinosaurs. They're like the last of their kind. And it's interesting because of the live streams and what we've been sharing. It's been kind of a confusion that I've put out that I'm responsible for when I'm making these different types of lights, and I don't really clearly tell people exactly all the things that they can get, all the things that they will get. A lot of times I show them what I want them to want, and that's always what I've kind of preached to you guys. And let me use myself as an example, because I've shown on the live stream and in some of my Instagram posts and things like that, things that I could do, but that I'm not actively going out and trying to get people to want, such as the animated outer circles right here and all of that. It just creates confusion in the market or with your customers of what is it that they're getting. Like crystal clear, people need to know what they're getting, because when you start trying to explain what all of the stuff is involved in this, it sounds like you're trying to confuse them, because literally you can't not confuse them by just talking it out, which is why video comes huge into play. And it's nice just to be able to grab a camera and show people things. Last night I mentioned I was talking with this group of guys that I think are just the dopest dudes out there when it comes to building custom lights. And I was talking to them about my the online courses, and basically about this idea of like an academy and like all these multiple teachers that are best in craft, the different stuff that they do, and us all being able to do what we do, focus on what we focus on just like normal, capture that on video, upload it to a place where people can go and learn it, and make that available to them. Not that that's for everybody, and not that that's for every builder to want to put out their how-to content, because that's very weird. It's like goes against the grain. And so I'm curious to hear what you guys think. What do you think about teaching people how to do what you uniquely know how to do? How many of you guys are actually doing that right now? Spectrum does a bunch of crazy freaking work, and I know that he's got some products that he wants to show people how to use, or to show them how to install it. And there's always this kind of thing in the back of your head where it's like, should I show somebody how to do something? Because what if they take that and then they compete against me? What do you guys think about that whole concept? I really, today in chat, I want to talk. And speaking of chatting and talking, as you guys say hi to each other, Spectrum says he needs to buy QuadHands. And that I love, because I really want that to come through what we've built here, the stream. And for those of you guys that don't know, that might be watching a replay, we're all talking about stuff that's happening inside of Sequential Squad. And I love that that video file refuses to just play anytime I want to talk about this stuff. But there it is Sequential Squad. So it's been really cool watching the guys join in the actual up to the videos and get access to the files as well. Course of Motion in the house, as well as you guys hopping over to the Facebook group. Super dope. John Paul says, can I download that version to replace mine, please? What version do you have of what? Are you talking about your QuadHands or your helping hands? So let's see how to make DRL lights at home. There you go. Spectrum says, so Umer, can you go into some more detail about that? Because there's many ways you can go with that, from adding a simple strip, using LED pod brackets and LEDs to make a DRL. Absolutely. So Umer, thank you for asking a question. Yesterday's video was specifically about making DRL lights, actually for a DRL for a Genesis, I mean a Nissan GTR. So not exactly the same thing as you're probably thinking about, but same deal. It's just taking a bunch of LEDs and sticking them somewhere where they present that little daytime running light look, especially switchback sequential where they change the turn signal. It's always a good look. I keep seeing all this stuff coming out from what is the company's name? They're so big. Osram. They've been putting out videos specifically about these dynamic turn signals. So everything that they say on the corporate end of sequential is dynamic. They'll also put sequential in there as well. but I'm thinking about kind of going out and attacking that specific name for YouTube videos. And I encourage you guys to try the same stuff that I'm trying, or if I know that it's working, to just do it. Just straight up copy me. Do what has proven to be working. All right, let me see. Looking at my quad hands here, and I want to make sure that I get the next LED in line, which appears to be this fella here. Let me show you guys. Working through all this craziness. So I've got one LED there. Boy, this is freaking confusing just looking at this thing right now. So we've got LED 1 right here. And LED 2 is the one next to it. And LED 3 is this guy. And then LED 4 is my friend here. LED 5 is this one. That means that LED 6 is this dude right there. And we're all dialed. Okay, so I'm gonna start soldering some stuff up. And I think the best way to do that is gonna be through this view right here. This should be very interesting. So I think how I want to do this is to tin all of these wires individually using the QuadHands. Then I'm going to come through after that and hook them all up to the ribbon wires one by one. Should make it somewhat easy. I don't know. I think this is going to work well. Let's just give it a shot. Tin that bad boy. This one. So if I had 6 hands, 6 quad hands, which I definitely want to get the magnetic one here, because I think it's different strokes for different folks. I think there's going to be a lot of guys that would rather see the little quad hand arms not be the magnetic ones. I actually very much like that these ones are kind of like screwed down into place, because the magnetic ones can move and very likely I would knock them out of the way. John Paul says the GTR Lightbolt GLC, that should be, you should be able to see it inside. You want me to show you right now? Inside of the online course in the squad? Let's just do that really quick. Just because I know a lot of people have never actually looked in there. Want them all to see inside. There's nothing, there's no secrets, there's no hiding. So let's see, this is in squad. Let's log in, and right here in library, we've got all of our different types. We've got the lightning bolts. Click that, and on your downloads, you've got a GLC zip file. Try that out. If that's not the right one, let me know. I can actually upload the correct one. There's 2 of them. I believe that that's the correct one. So there you go. Sinister says magnetic ones take force to move. So that's actually a great, I mean, it's good feedback, because I wish I had 6 little arms here. And if I had the magnetic ones, I think, Sinister, if I'm not wrong, this base plate should work with the additional little arms that come with like the 6-arm big rectangle unit, right? Because that'd be dope. Just to have so many little freaking octopus arms going on here, to be able to just be like, cool, I got 12 channels, you got 12 wires, they're all on arms, you're like bow 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 bow, just factory style. That's so cool. Yeah, so I want to absolutely get one of those things over here. So I'm going to talk with Mark about that, and then I want to get some giveaway stuff from them for you guys specifically. So that's the update on the quad hand stuff. Hopefully, John Paul, you can use that zip file that I just showed you to get what you need. And then I wanted to give you guys the heads up too. Whatever files you make for the contest, which I'm going to spend tomorrow morning first thing. I actually spent the last few mornings taking every single live stream and updating them to the website so that it's in the blog. And so every single collection of the different stuff is in there. If you log in and you click on the blog and you see one that's about WRX lights, there'll be a little tag in there, and so you can click that tag and it'll just take you to everything that's WRX, or everything that's taillights, or everything that's unique LED or Corso Motion or whatever. So I'm tagging all the blog posts based on the live streams and using that as kind of just a catalog of ways that you can pinpoint stuff that we've done over the last 40 hours of live video. Is that ridiculous or what? Okay, so this is where I wish I had the extra hands, but I don't. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna hook this guy up on here first, and then I'm gonna come through and I'm gonna tin all of these guys, right? I think that's how I want to go about it. Then I gotta put the heat shrink on. Little bit of tin. In the past, you know what I've done instead of this too? I'm gonna do it on the next few. Get your guys' feedback. Twist up these wires around them and not solder. And we're just gonna try to find the best method using the tools that we have here, just to make this as quick as possible. Okay. Wow. So I've got a whole bin of different size heat shrink here. Just gonna fit all these guys on there and then dive back in. John Paul says, wasn't sure if that was the right one. We'll check it now. Thanks, dude. Let me know. That's what we need. Yeah, so a lot of times when I talk to people about the way I do different things, their advice is to do things very like, a lot of like, if you were to do it the exactly perfect way and had all the time in the world, you should do it like this. That's kind of how I feel about what I'm doing right now. I'm doing all these tiny little steps, and this, just to warn you, this is how you lose money. If you do a build like this, where it's just insanely, like, crazy amounts of little wires everywhere, and you've got all these individual little connections to make, and all these dudes, I don't really have to mess with hardly any of this. Like when I do the lightning bolt headlights, all of these things, I crimp these connectors on. The wires do what they do. They carry it from the connector on the bolt itself to the connector on the ghost module. Everything's done. No crazy soldering like this. That's why that part, which used to be the hardest thing I could possibly make, is now one of the easier builds that I do. And it makes a lot of sense for me to take that job on once a month or something like that if I can, and then say no to 10 other jobs, because I can do that job that's worth 10 others and it doesn't keep my time completely wrapped up. So I definitely think that it's a completely different way of looking at it. Say no 10 times so that you can say yes to the one thing that equals the same as all the other 10. And then the other part of that too is that, like, you can also take on all 11 of those things. Just depends what your goal is. Mine's to have more time. I have more time, take on less work, less people waiting on me. And have more kind of clarity to work on my business instead of working inside the business. I call it the technician, guy who's doing all the work. You guys read books? One of my favorite books when it comes to breaking down the different roles you play in the business and how your business grows and evolves and kind of changes around you. One called The E-Myth Revisited. I think it's Michael Gerber. Super good book. I think I'm much more into business than I am into like the whole idea of social media and building lights and cars and all that stuff. Just business itself fascinates me. Keeps me super on the hook, I guess you would say. All right, I'm gonna slide these heat shrinks down into place. So, to give you context to what I did, I just made 4 connections. 4. All that time of me talking and running wires and soldering one wire and then moving over and soldering the other and basically tinning them and getting them ready and then soldering them together. That's 3 steps for one solder plus the act of sliding the heat shrink down there. And I did that so that you can contrast it against what I'm about to do next. And I can repurpose this video by putting a little timestamp on there and watching how long it took me to do those 4 and then how long it takes to do the next 4. All right, so that was a very, very slow 4 connections. Only got 4 left, I think. Maybe only 3. Looks like 4. Okay. Might be 3 though. I think one of those might be a power wire. So this time I'm not going to solder the wires ahead of time. I'm not going to tin them. All I'm gonna do is wrap them around the wire, the one that I want to get to next, which is this guy here. So I am going to use the QuadHands for this. That's the next one in the line. And then after that, I'm looking at the resistors that are soldered to the board here. And then I'm taking them and I'm working them through to the next color in the line, which is why the ribbon wire that's multicolored like this is great if it's never ever possibly going to be visible. I don't use this colorful ribbon wire for things like the GTR headlights because you can actually see in the reflection inside the light, you could see where the ribbon wire goes. So if you can imagine having this little multicolored action thing going on, looks kind of stupid. I don't know. It's not a good look. Okay, we only have 3 connections left. So here's what we're gonna do. I am going to put these little heat shrinks on there. I'm not gonna pre-tin or do anything like that. Just gonna slide them on. I do actually have to let go of them for a second though. I feel like I'm actually just focusing more and working faster on these anyway, so this is not exactly a fair competition, but showing you what goes into this stuff. Especially for the guys who are never going to do this themselves, have no interest in doing this themselves, that this is what I want you to know is happening behind the scenes. So it might be in your best interest to just focus on doing things like working on the animation files and not having to do the actual hands-on wiring, because that's not a thing that everybody should do. I don't think so. So I'm twisting and wrapping these guys around the ends. I want this to be nice and clean, no little strays hanging out. And then I'm going to solder it, and then I'm going to pull those heat shrink wires over the top. And we can only imagine that it's going to be significantly faster. Kind of compare them to the other guys. All right, so there's those. Still using QuadHands. And when I do these ones, sometimes I even come back through after, which can add an extra step. And I clip the excess off. Because if there's anything extra hanging off or anything super sharp, pokey, I don't want it to mess things up with something else later. There actually is a straggler. Come on, straggler. Oh. Okay. Normally I just have all these wires just aiming up at my face, and I gotta tell you, it's pretty easy to lose track of where you're at. So that wasn't too terribly bad. I found a video of when I made these things originally back in the day, 2017, freshly into the shop in Riverside, and I wanted to make crazy lights and smack the mic with the... Hold on. Okay. We've got one down, but yeah, back in those days, I was just entering this idea that if I had a cool shop, that I would have the ability to do better work. We're gonna test this thing really quick. Oh, and by the way, I was wrong about that. You just get distracted. All right. Yeah, and Jake, you're asking about where the like which online course has that stuff, and Sinister did reply with the 301. I just say this with a bit of warning. I don't make 301 stuff for people that want to make money. I really don't. I don't think it's the move to make. I think it's just if you really want that knowledge. Yo. Success. Very cool. Hey. That woo-woo though. Oh boy. You know, it's like, it's the craziest thing seeing this. I'll tell you this. I say that little phrase a lot. I'm sorry. When I look at what is in my hand right now, I know that this thing came out of a taillight. Good to go. I've got a lot of them actually. They're probably worth about $1,000 when you really break it down, because you can only get them inside of new taillights. Maybe you can find some used ones, in which case they'd be less. But these lights are so bright. They're insane bright. They're better than you can buy aftermarket units to go on the boards. Like, for the most part, I never see anybody using this high quality of an LED on aftermarket drop-in boards. And I don't know. I think it's pretty cool that the only way you can get the truly brightest OEM style, but with full monster control of everything, is if you modify factory. That's pretty cool. It's not a blanket statement that holds true for absolutely everything, but parking light, brake light, on the brake, off the brake. So cool. I'm really a big fan of this particular setup, and I never want to make another set again besides the one that I am gonna do starting from scratch. Not just showing you what I've already made, showing you from scratch how I made this thing in Sequential 301. Filming that now kind of in my spare time, because I already have a few sets of these things made that don't require the downtime of me just building out all that craziness. So, what do you guys think? Modifying factory circuit boards truly is like its own art. It's its own little niche inside of this, you know, customizing lights world. And I think it's a good deal. 100K, don't worry about it, brother. You're here, that's all that matters. Jake says, I'm more of a hobbyist. I might end up using 3mm bulbs anyway, but still need to learn how to use those. So the good news is if you're gonna use something that is like a, I think I might have some sitting out here. If you have like the little 5mm piranhas or 10mm, I don't know. Is 10mm a thing? I don't think it is. But they're basically like these little, they have the little legs, the individual little legs. The old school LEDs had these, the 5mm that I used to use in my Angel Eyes, you know, back nearly 2 decades ago, which is insanity. But they're super easy to work with. So the animation that we just saw right now was made for the older style GTR taillights, and those use those little piranha style 4-leg Superflux LEDs, and they're basically easy to get in there, chop up the wires, add a resistor, like this resistor right here. Here's a shortcut to knowing how to modify factory LEDs. You open up the lights. If you see a bunch of wires coming from the LEDs, one of them is ground, one of them is power. You make sure all the powers go together, all the individual ground connections to those LEDs, you make sure that they're severed from any other form of getting ground. So especially if it's on a circuit board, you can't have that ground connection that touches that LED touch anything else on the board. It needs to be an island. I always talk about this idea of ground islands, right? But if it's just wires, one of those is ground and one of them's power. It's simple. You take the ground connection, you put one of these guys on there, little resistor, and then that goes to the ghost board. Now if you bundle a bunch of these things up and they get really hot, that's going to present a problem, especially if they're close to the ghost board. I had to learn that hard lesson last year. It sucked. I'd been making lights for years and years, and I'd never run into that issue until it started getting weird while it was on dude's car, and that's why I took him back and realized that you need to use a much bigger, higher wattage resistor if your only option is to have those resistors somewhat close to each other, right? Because you just don't want to have a bundle of heat. This little thing producing some heat by itself, not a big deal. If it's got 20 homies right next to it, probably not a good look. It's probably gonna generate more than it should have on there. Joey said, hey bro, this is awesome. Joey, you're awesome. Thanks for being here, man. So yeah, I'm giving you guys, here's the cool thing that I've realized, and I had this conversation with my dudes yesterday when I was talking to them about the idea of them creating content to go into the academy and stuff like that, because I'm inviting them in to share and actually get to profit and benefit from this idea of teaching as professors in a school where there's no school to teach you custom lighting. I mean, there is mine, but there's not like a place, so you don't go like get a cool piece of paper and you take that to your local I don't know, custom shop, and you're like, look at my paper, it says that I did the work and I'm good, now I get the job, give me 35 bucks an hour. That's not a thing. So it's more about you. And Jake said he's a hobbyist and he wants to learn. So all that stuff that I just told you about using resistors and taking control of factory LEDs, that's what's in the $50 course. That's what's in Sequential 101. That's like intro. I'm not trying to like take you to the bank or anything like that. I'm just like, I don't know, I've curated a bunch of steps. It's all there. Use the app, whatever. It's not a huge pitch on this whole thing right now, but the idea is just simple. If you want to do all the hands-on wiring and take control of the LEDs, you can learn a lot just in Sequential 101 and never have to take another course on Sequential. I think that's enough. That plus Sequential Squad, which has all this awesome info that you guys are providing and we're learning together on all this. That is the dopeness. Very good. Well, I have the other board here. Where's that? Where you at, board? Let's see if I can reach without my head getting disconnected. Oh, wow, that was scary. So I've got the high beam section, or not high beam. I've got the big ring section, and we are all stripped and ready to go and all of that. So I think it's safe to say that if I wanted to do what I did earlier, that I shouldn't start and tin the ends and do all that stuff. I feel like even though somebody's going to tell you how do you solder a wire, and they're going to say make sure that there's solder on this end or solder on that end, or even better yet, QuadHands makes it easy. It could just be like, ooh, let's do this too, just so that we've got some sort of a background thing of like, why is this guy talking so much? What's he even talking about, bro? You just have a little something going on. That'll work. Weird music though. So if I had a wire here and I just wanted to connect it to the other, this is always what I see people do. It's apparently it's the legit way you're supposed to do this. You're supposed to take a wire, like, let's just say one of these little ribbon wires that I'm not gonna mess with on that end. You're supposed to take one of these guys, strip the end of it, and then like, I don't know, like twist the thing on so that they kind of are intertwined, and then just like, it's just such a weird, not quick, not much better, not much different. It's still crazy thin wire. This is like 28 gauge. That's so thin. Like really, it's not gonna make that big of a difference if it's folded over on itself and then it's soldered and you've got solid wire throughout the whole joint and threads coming out on one side and threads coming out on the other side of the joint. Like it's just as strong. Twist it up, bend the thing over, you solder it, you're good. Heat shrink, solid. As opposed to like solder this, solder the other side, then put the heat shrink tubing on. Obviously you gotta take that step second because you don't wanna try to hit the heat shrink, put the heat shrink over it before you've soldered it, because it can actually kind of make it easier to fray the ends up when you do that, which is obnoxious. So you got 3 steps there, and then the 4th step, put the 2 things together, solder them. 4 steps, let's say each one of those steps takes you, and I'm trying to talk like some logic about this stuff, because go with me here. If I'm making one connection right there, one wire that has already been like, there's already a lot of other stuff that I'll dive back into after that. But if I'm just soldering that one wire and I've taken 4 steps to do it, and each step takes roughly, let's say 10 to 15 seconds, that's 1 minute per connection. So if I've got 50 connections to make, you know, that's a lot. We're talking 50 minutes for 4 connections to be made. Like, I don't know. The math was wrong there. But a minute for every one of those connections, you divide it down, and you're sitting here ultra focused in, and you're going to be spending half an hour at least just soldering up those connections. That to me sounds a little bit crazy, right? And then let's take it down a step further. I was talking about Sequential 101 and taking control of existing wires. Well, that's cool. So that means that you have your factory wire, and it's going to the power side on an LED. You got the ground side going into that LED. So your first couple steps, you're gonna cut the ground wire. You're probably gonna cut the power wire because you're gonna link all of those things together. And I guarantee you, they're going into little groups of 4, right? Because that's how resistors work with the LEDs. They're not gonna take 12 LEDs all at once and dumb those things down to run on 12 to 14 volts. So they're gonna group them up into little sections of 3, 4, 5, whatever. So that means that you're gonna have to find all your power wires, bring those things all together, and then link all of the power wires so that you have one wire powers up everything. Then you have to have isolated grounds for the LEDs, which means in the case of this circuit board, I've got one ground connection at the actual circuit board, or in the case of like an LED with a wire coming out, that would be your starting point. Solder connection 1, the resistor. So now you've got one solder that you've done to the resistor, and that needs to get a heat shrink on it after you solder the second connection, which is the wire coming out of it, which is what we just worked with. So technically, you're doing like 7 or 8 steps for each individual connection times however many LEDs you have. On this circuit board, this factory one, I've taken control of the inner 12 LEDs. That's how we have that over there. 12 LEDs doing their thing. Now on the outside of that little guy, we've got 18 LEDs, and they're not taking control of. They're still using their factory resistors, and they're doing everything the way that they were designed to do from Nissan, from smarter dudes than me. And I'm gonna leave those alone because I still want them to get power from running light and from brake light. And so this would work the same as any part of an LED panel that you don't want to mess with. I'll talk about configuring designs and shapes and all that stuff in a second. The reality is 24 LEDs on the outside of this one. So if I want to take control of 12 LEDs here and 24 LEDs there, like, number one, that's terrible, because 36 LEDs for one board means 36 LEDs times 36 resistors, which means 7 different solder connections, crap tons of heat shrink and all of that, and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of sitting there and soldering one board. Here's the thing, I got 4 boards. So if I'm gonna do that, and how many hours am I sinking into that sequential job so that I can just take a guy's lights that he thinks I just snap my finger and like magic, I put a module in. Don't you have a module? Don't you have a chip that can do that? No, bro. I don't have a chip that can magically make all that crap that I was just explaining happen. I don't. There's no like using the matrix to, you know what I mean? Like change some code and then like all of a sudden all of these physical connections to resistors and LEDs and solder points and all that just like reconfigure and like boom, now you can make them do cool things. Nope, that's not at all the case. You have to do it yourself. So I don't recommend anybody for any reason, like my dude Jonathan Patton that does this and knows he loses when he does it, and I love him. He's good at what he does, and he also knows it's not taking him anywhere. That's not a business. That is an infatuation and a hobby. Don't do this to make money. Bro, I want the chip though. Give me the chip, says Sinister. Here you go. Here's the chip. This is as close to solving that problem as you're ever gonna get. Because in the back of these GTR bezels, there's a little hole. And this circuit board perfectly has placed the LEDs to shine through that hole. So your best bet, if you're dead set on having animation and not doing all the absolute madness that I just told you, is to buy a whole bunch of these unique LED pods, or the Corso Motion pods, or your own thing that you make, or addressable LED pods, whatever, and then to go through like Mike West does and individually mount those things in the holes that are forward facing. And you got to make sure you do a good job. You want to make sure that they're all nice and even. Will they be perfect? No, they won't be perfect. No way. Because this is something designed on the computer to fit with something else and be perfect. There's really only one way to get that, and it's to have a replication of this thing made, which is what we did on my dude Slush HD's lights. We used those drop-in boards that I ran out of that I'm never going to make again. And I don't know if anybody else is either, because how big is the market for something like that? And how big is the market when I just explained all that goes into these, knowing that I don't do 36 connections, but 12 even. 12 kicks my ass. It's so hard. It's so hard to make that thing. I think I only made 4 or 5 sets ever. I was trying to add them up yesterday. I think I missed one. And they're just they're insanely hard. So if you have lights that you open up and they have wires in them, go for it, dude. Take control, chop those wires up, add resistors, use the stuff that you could find on the internet, take the online courses, or figure it off on your own. It's not rocket science. It's more just time. If you have the time to spend, especially right now, quarantine and all that, people have time. Graham, what's up, man? Graham's always leaving the best comments on the videos, by the way. Thank you, Graham. My dude's always telling me to keep it going. I appreciate that big time. Perfect shirt. How much, bro? Maybe it should say bro on there. How much for lights? How much for what? For lights. For what? For lights. I'm like, bro, I'm seriously just about to bash my head into this table. What kind of lights? What are you asking? Oh, boy. It's different. You know, because imagine this. You roll up to a drive-thru and you're just a complete bonehead. And you're like, how much for food? I'd be like, what kind of food? Just food. Food that I can eat. And they're going to be like, well, we have this, we have that, they have this is this much, this is that much. And they'll run through the menu for you, right? They're getting paid to run through the menu for you. They don't care. They're like, whatever happens in the 8 hours that I'm here at Taco Bell today, I'm getting paid. So that's not a big deal. When somebody hits you up about lights and they say how much, they're like, can you just tell me every single option that I have and break down the math and let me know if I get these 8 things, how much it'll be. But if I only get 5 of those things, let me know what it'll be. And if I get a different configuration of 5 of those 8 things, tell me how much that would be. And then I want to look at it, and then I want to see a video of it, and I want to see pictures of it installed, and I want to know if you can do it for less money, and I want to know if you can get it done by next Tuesday. And if all of that goes well, then I might consider it. I don't even have the car yet. There you go. Let's not live that life anymore, gentlemen. 3:40 a.m. and Graham is here. That's awesome, dude. So good. Customer emails you for a quote and sends link to $1,000 lights, but wants them for $400. And it's not at all a call out at all. It's just more putting this into perspective. But one of you dudes hit me up the other day. I think one of the new guys that joined the Facebook group, and he was considering, like, I kind of want to make a business. There's something out there that I've seen. I know I can do it for cheaper. I just need you to tell me how. Just show me how to do it, and I know I'll be able to make these things for myself, and then I could probably make them for other people as well. And I looked and I saw what he was going to replicate, and it was something from JP, and I was like, oh man, my guy Jonathan's losing when he does that job. He's bleeding money. He's gushing. His hours, they're getting chopped down. I literally said, you're better off selling flowers on the side of the freeway if you want to make more money than that, because that is a great way to make $4 an hour and be stressed out balls and not be allowed to take on other work because you've already agreed to take on that $4 an hour, and you're literally chained to that job until you finish it. Even after you finish it, you might have to come back and revisit it for 50 hours. What if one of these LEDs goes bad? Here's just to give you context, guys. I just walked through quite a bit of stuff about these GTR taillight boards, right? These go on a 2015 or newer GTR. Generally, the only people that are going to drop the amount of money to get a set of lights like this are going to be guys that have a pretty substantial project, not just your run-of-the-mill stock thing that, like, the guy pops his trunk, puts in a tail, his turn module that cost him $50, and he's good to go, right? That's not what this is. This is 10 times that. So go through all the effort, to mount these things on the car, you have to take it to a shop that knows how to drop the bumper. They have to take the side markers off perfect. They have to take the lower tray off. There's a whole under carbon fiber underliner on the GTR that has to come off if you want to fully remove the bumper. If they're a shop, they're going to bill you for all that time. They're going to do all this stuff. You drop the thing. I have videos on it. Go look at them if you want. There's a free GTR course that teaches you this stuff too. But in any case, if you drop the bumper, you remove the taillights. The taillights are bolted to the bumper, so there's no easy way to go about this. You get the factory lights off. You put these new lights on. You run the wire harness. You do all the work. Cool. What if an LED goes out? How much time did it take you to work on that project? I don't know. Maybe one tiny little wire bridges something in that ground connection that I was talking about. What if you did all of your testing when you made these boards with them not hooked up with the factory connector, and you just tested it with the sequencer and everything worked perfect? But then when you plug in the lights to the actual car, the ground circuit from the car goes into that outer ring that I mentioned that we leave alone. What if one little connection from that outer ring is bridging to a ground connection on one of those inside LEDs that we have full control of? Well, what happens is they get a full shot of voltage. There's no resistor now. You got 12 volts coming in power side, and on the ground side, there's no resistor, which means it just gets a full shot of 12 volts right to that LED that can only run at maybe 3 of those volts, and poof, dunzo, instant. You didn't even get a chance to see it flicker. It's just dead. It's never coming back. And that happened the second that the guy turned on his lights. After he did all that stuff, all those hours were spent, craziness. How do I know all this? Because of course, that is a story that happened to me, for sure. And then it's get the lights back. Oh, but first, they have to come off the car. And all these things have to be undone. And then more shipping money, hundreds of dollars has to be spent. And it is not a recipe for success at all. So I want you to know that as I tell you about these things. And it's also why, if you have a market to do something because you've made something amazing a couple times and a lot of people want it, which is what happened with these exact boards, the first 4 or 5 sets that I made, led to enough demand that people wanted to pay. And of course they wanted it now, and I optimistically thought that I could provide a service much, much faster than was the case. But I ended up spending a few $1,000s and having drop-in boards made from ZLEDs. And they were freaking awesome. And they took me 8 months to figure out how to use them. So like, this is not a business model. This is like, again, it's an infatuation. It's a hobby. It's something that you can get tools like QuadHands here to help you out. You can get all the best stuff in the world, but if you're doing this as a service for a person, dude, just slaying some flowers, you're gonna make more money for sure. You're not gonna go home freaked out at night thinking like, oh God, what am I gonna do? I thought that it was perfect, but now I just got an email that said that one LED's out. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? I want my money back. I'm telling everybody. I'm telling. You're bad. So what if that happens and you've got other jobs lined up and you were on track? You were gonna get that job started the next day and do it the next day, but now this thing just blew up in your face over here. And how does that snowball just start pulling in like a tornado everything around it? Well, if you do custom sequential work as a business and it's all hands-on stuff like this, I just want to warn you, your profession is building one tornado at a time, just so you know. So I want you to know about all this stuff. It's not at all a fun deal to learn. Got to be in the trenches. Hunter said he wanted to see the back of the board. There you go. So these days I would not use all these individual wires to do it. Definitely just use the ribbon wire straight to it, cut them to length, and make sure that they are doing what they're supposed to do. There you go. Insanity. So much stuff was done to create that look. And so like, I don't know, here's the other thing too, is no one's gonna sit and watch a live stream of all of this stuff if they're not into it. And then they're gonna see the end result and they're gonna see some blinky lights, and they're gonna take the value in their head of what having those blinky lights would make them feel like, and that's what they're gonna associate with what it should cost. So they're like, that's kind of cool, but I would only pay a couple $100 to have that. But we just talked about not only risking the potential double or triple the hours that it should take to make it and send it off first if everything goes perfect, but what if it cost you 200 hours to build that? That's what you paid. You paid 200 hours. He paid X amount of dollars. And then in that, there's like, this guy has like, here's what he's contributed. Here's what you've contributed. And I can just tell you, there are so many things, and I'll say it again right now. This part right here, drop-in board, this is old. This is I want to say this is like a 3-4 year old part, drop-in part for the Subaru WRX. So many people have installed this part. So many of them. If the part goes bad, just swap it out. Just 2 little wires. If there's an issue, the driver goes bad, swap out the driver. It's quick and easy. It's not rocket science. If you have any interest in making money doing lights, you do not want to show people that, because that's what they're going to want. They're going to want this crazy little crazy little tornado. And in perfect fashion, it's just spinning away right now, being a tornado. And yeah, I mean, there's just way better things that you can do with the knowledge that you get. So I know I'm talking to my guys that follow all these videos that are here supporting, and you're on the live streams and everything. And I know that there's no music, and it's a little bit intimate right now. I'm trying to give you guys just the heads up, just the straight up, do not chase down stuff that is beyond a certain amount of complexity. Not because you can't do it. I'm sure you can do it. I'm sure you could pull it off. You do it a few times. All it takes is one, and it can literally undo everything that you've been doing. That has happened to me so many times. So many times. I'm trying to just push forward and keep making it happen. And there's no way to be like, it's not my fault. It's 100% my fault, because I signed up to do it. I took on the work. DJ Boom in the house. What up? Course of Motion says agreed. The hard thing is taking responsibility for it, though. Trust me. Because what do you do when you get blasted all over the internet because you've been trying to make things happen and chase tornadoes and put out fires and do all those things and continue to push the envelope and come up with cooler stuff and find solutions and make the drop-in boards, and then what? Do I make the drop-in board and sell it to a whole bunch of people? I don't know. It took me 8 months to figure out how to do it, and I designed the thing. You know, like, is that something that's going to sell? No. You know what's going to sell? That little WRX part that I just showed you. You could come up with a solution to a simple problem, and the solution is simple, and it's repeatable, then go after it. And if somebody else copies you, and there's 3 or 4 different brands that are doing the same exact thing as you, well, then you should be better at telling people about it and explaining it, making content for it, and using that thing to work for you, those videos and all that stuff working for you 24/7, because you found a solution to something simple that other people can repeat and go for it. But don't come up with things that are so complex that almost nobody on the planet is going to be able to even follow the step-by-step how-to that you create so they can make it happen too. I can just tell you from first-hand example, like first-hand experience, it's there's way better ways that you can help people, and I mean infinitely better ways to make dollar bills. You know what I mean? It's a weird little heart-to-heart today. What do you guys think? Have you built anything that you never want to build again? As a hobby, as a business? Mohammed, what up? From Trinidad and Tobago, bro. Happy to have you. Yeah, buddy. I mean, I can only imagine that if the person at Taco Bell that was telling you all your options and going through all this stuff that they can make you and literally walk through like all the custom combinations of things that aren't on the menu, if they knew that the more time they wasted giving you that information, that it was not going to result in them buying something, food in the first place, and that wasting time came out of your paycheck, I think it would be understandable why there would be terrible service in that drive-through, right? Or in the line or wherever. And that's exactly what's at. There's so many problems in the custom lighting industry itself. Supply problems, the cost of products, that's a big topic going on right now. There's a lot of stuff that's not great. So that's an opportunity. There's a lot of problems that can be solved. And so that's why I make a lot of this stuff, because I want you to be able to look at things from the perspective of not can you do something, but should you do something. I think that's also kind of what's going on in society right now. There's so many people for a long time. It's kind of like they don't do anything until the whole world's putting a spotlight on them, and then they're just like, oh, let me check that box really quick and make it look like I did good for this cause. But in all reality, they can do things, and maybe even they should do things, but they just don't do it. This is on the same kind of path of should you and shouldn't you do a lot of stuff. Most things you shouldn't do. Most of the custom lighting stuff you should never mess with. And so I say that, and I almost talk people out of a lot of my higher level courses because, number one, those things are ridiculous to make, and I do want to deliver value on them, and so I have to make things hardcore, like a walkthrough on how to make this exact project over again. But should I show people how to do things that are going to hurt them if they go out there and try to use it to be the guy that makes that job like Jonathan Patton did, but do it for cheaper? I don't think so. I don't think that's a good look. I'd rather scare those guys away, and when the guy hits me back and he's like, listen, I'm 63 years old. I'm retired. I've got my pension. I've got all the things that I need, and I want to know how to do this damn thing that you clearly are doing on a daily basis, and I want to pay you. Take my money, fool. Shut up and take my money. That's who should take those courses. Or the guy that's like, listen, I got tons and tons of time, and I don't need the dollars to come from the knowledge that I pay for on this one. I just want to have that knowledge. That guy should take it. The guy who's hurting for money right now should probably stay far, far away from building custom lights. You know what I mean? If you're going to have to survive off of it, don't do it. If it's going to be your side hustle and it's fun and you enjoy it, you like who you meet, you like the things that you get to go do, go after it. Get into custom lighting. Make it your side hustle. Don't let it take over your life. Don't let it take over your weekends. Tell the wife, oh, I can't go do the thing with the family because I got to build these lights because Philip, the angry customer, is going to nail me to the wall and he's telling all his friends that I'm bad. So I can't go to the birthday party. Like, Jesus. You know how many people have to, like, that's the rundown? Definitely not a thing. And this is not a downer. I'm actually trying to pump you guys up. Like, I think you guys fall into the category of people who can absolutely crush doing, like, taking all this knowledge and putting it to use and not let it kind of corrupt other things that you got going on. You know, like, look, who's sitting there working on custom lights with their kids? You know, working on custom animation files, and then they get to see it on a live stream. That's dope. I would love to have some interaction with somebody that my kid watches live stream, except that it's just a bunch of, you know, bonehead video game kids that are certainly not interested to take the time to, like, interact at, like, an intimate level with the people that they're trying to help out. So Graham says this is his hobby and he loves this, and I agree with that. It's cool. I envy the people that get to do this stuff and just love it and have fun doing it, because I'm so far down the rabbit hole, especially on the education side of it. There's no going back. There's 100% only continue down the road and make something that really helps people, as opposed to it's just a way to make money. Because, man, I got the skill set to make money in lots of stupid ways that I don't agree with, that people are out there exploiting, and, like, I'm not trying to do that. I think that there's something unique I'm supposed to do. And so that's what all of this is, just so you know. Cisco says, sup bro, like affiliate marketing, the cool stuff doesn't sell. It's the weird kids pacifier you never heard of that's killing it. Just because you can sell it doesn't mean it will make money. For sure, man. It really comes down to, in my opinion, especially in the custom lighting world, the business looks like this. There's other guys that are going to be able to make the same thing that you do. So never think that your idea is just yours. It's just how you execute on that idea. And all the ideas are worthless. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you've got the craziest thing ever. If it's the coolest thing, that doesn't mean it's going to win. It's just the thing that you're seeing people want from you, from other people. That's what you should position out there. That's what you should put in your Instagram or on your website when you're selling this kind of service. Just show them the stuff that you know that if they buy that, if they sign up to do the thing, number one, you're going to enjoy doing it, because why spend your life doing these things that you don't enjoy? And number two, you should absolutely make sure that it helps you, that it's like of benefit. Not just, hey, it's kind of fun, but it's kind of a wash. I don't really make money. I'm kind of spinning my wheels. Dude, it costs you time. Like, your time you're never getting back. So don't burn your time. But hey, does it help you? Does it pad the weekend thing? Do you get to go to that birthday party and go buy that present for some random friend of yours' kid that you don't even know about, but apparently they're into freaking Pokemon and the gift at Target costs $30? Like, does that phase you? No, because you got the side hustle cash? Cool, you're good. That job paid for that thing. And the 6-pack or the cool new car part that you got or the $200 tool or your QuadHands or whatever it might be. That's how I think all this should work into your life. I don't think it should be a takeover. Oh, I have to get it done. Because it's the most important thing ever. Like, it should be at your pace. You should control it. And I think that's the hardest thing about all of this, is that it takes you over and it owns you. Your business owns you instead of you owning your business. Your business doesn't work for you. You work for your business. That's the angle that I'm attacking right now hardcore with this, because I've had the metaphor for the longest time, just like Spider-Man and Venom. Venom wrapped around Spider-Man. Venom is FlyRyde. I'm Peter Parker. I'm the dude in the inside. I got some cool superpowers. I do. But there's this thing. It's grabbing me from all angles and it won't let go. And what the result of the combination of those two things is not the best version. It's not the coolest thing. And it does not help family, and I'm very family centric when it comes to what the goals are. So I just don't want to see a bunch of Venoms running around out there. Be Spider-Man, Peter Parker, FlyRyde Sense, it's in there. Don't let Venom snuff that out. God, I love nerd stuff. It's the best. All right. So I'm glad we had the little heart-to-heart. I'm glad you got to see some actual work. We used QuadHands. We talked about idealism with the wiring and all of that. So I think that they're things to consider. This is the episode that I am going to forward to would-be builders that are like, hey, I want to start a lighting business. Watch this first. I think that those guys should watch this first, because maybe what you want to do is make a side hustle thing, not make a business. Not like, dude, I'm tired of working at Kinko's. Is there still Kinko's? There is, right? Maybe. If there still is, maybe there won't be soon. Who knows? In any case, you guys are dope. Thank you for hanging out. I am blown away by the fact that people will sit and listen to me for this long. But I hope that there was some wisdom or knowledge, or my experience can lend something of value to help you out. So that's the thing. These are not your taillights, DJ Boom. Definitely not. But the inside of your taillights will do the same thing that these ones are. These are the handmade ones. These things are shipping to Qatar. So they got to be able to hold up to the heat, do all the cool things. I'm looking forward to seeing them gone. Got a lot of stuff. Got to get with Richard right now, so I'm going to go. You guys are awesome. I will see you tomorrow, 10 a.m. If you're not posting on Facebook, if you need anything, Al, you kept asking about that GLC file. You got it. It's in the thing. Ask the guys if you didn't see the part on the live stream where I was telling you, but it's in there. So thank you guys. I'll see you all tomorrow morning. I hope. Take care. Have a good day.